Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 82. We're back on a Wednesday, and we're here to talk about pop culture things that interest us, and sometimes there's whiskey. I am John, and this week we're joined, as always, by Andrea and returning guest, Peter. Welcome, you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for
Happy to
having
be
me.
here.
Yeah, it's good to have you both. Andrea, I mean, of course, obviously, and Peter, it's been a little while since you've been here.
Moment or two, yes.
Yep. Um,
Back by popular demand, I understand. So I just
that's
couldn't
right.
stay away.
That's
Yeah.
right. We couldn't hold you back any longer.
I gotta know. I gotta know. So based on the text and emails you've been receiving, how have my supporters been taking my absence?
It's been rough. It's
Yep.
been
Yeah.
rough.
Not
No.
well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Not well.
Well,
Yeah, but we've been
well,
stringing him along, like, he'll be back, giving him
Little
hope.
giving them a little tease.
Yeah, mhm.
well,
Well,
we're here to
everybody's
reward.
they're in for a treat. Our audio listeners are missing out because you've got a fabulous shirt on tonight.
Thank
You
you.
hmm
I
wanna
made it
describe to
myself.
everybody your shirt. Um,
And
it's a
you've got a
real
new background going on. So
Well,
you're moving on up.
I like to
Quite
keep it,
literally, I think.
guessing. Yeah, the penthouse studio this time.
Yep. Alright, well, I said there's sometimes there's whiskey in this,
hmm
so Andrea, we got some drink holidays this week?
Yes, we do. We do. So a couple of days ago on November 8th, it was Harvey Wallbanger Day. Um, if you know what's in that, it's a fun little cocktail. Little orange juice, Galliano, and vodka.
Okay.
Um, so it's kind of like a little,
It's like a
screwdriver,
screwdriver, yeah.
but extra.
Mhm,
It's
yeah.
it's got a little attitude thrown in there. Um, and then tomorrow, the 11th, it's Tempranillo Day, which is a certain kind of wine grown with grapes found in a certain region of Spain. And then the day after that, Friday, it is simply International Happy Hour Day. So,
Hmm.
whatever is your drink of choice at happy hour, celebrate because it's a Friday and it's happy hour day. And I am certainly doing so with one of my favorites to order at happy hour, which is just a whiskey 7.
Oh,
So,
okay.
today it is true. Sometimes there's whiskey.
Mhm. Alright. Peter, you bring a cocktail or libation of your choice?
I'm more specialized in the vessel
Right.
than
This
the
is true.
liquid. I'm rocking a
Ooh,
Moon Knight pint glass.
excellent.
We'll get into
Nice.
more things Moon Knight later in the podcast.
Yeah.
I understand, but
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
we
you
just
can
filled
bring
it
up a
up
little
with
midnight.
some yellow soda.
Alright. Yeah, yeah, to not be, to not label it, we'll blur out any
Well,
logos.
yep. Until I receive compensation.
Yeah,
From the
right. Yeah. Yep.
I'll give you a hint. It's got yellow number 5 in it. So
Okay. Perfect. All natural. Yeah, I've got a rum drink I made. I'm calling it the like Sunset of Arrakis. How about that?
Ooh, all
oh, well
right.
done.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, is he gonna call it like the sandworm? He's gonna call it the spice,
Dude,
The sandworm has
spiced
a real
rum.
worm in the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah,
something.
right.
Yeah.
Hey, the
Look at us make
spice
all
would
these
be good.
cocktails,
That
right?
would be good. Yeah, put kind of a Christmassy drink coming up. Some
You,
nutmeg on top.
I feel like
Yeah.
one of these days we should release like a podcast drink book because we just make up some stuff and it's pretty excellent a lot of the time. So I feel like,
A
speaking of our
calendar.
fans clamoring for things,
A
we should
drink
do a little.
calendar, so you can do
Yes,
one a month, and it can
exactly.
coincide with the release date of a movie, each when it came out
Exactly.
historically, and a drink
See?
tied to it.
All
Are
right.
you putting up the ingredients so the viewers online can mix their libation and
You
have
That's
know
what we're gonna have to start doing,
yeah?
honestly. We haven't done that before, but yeah, we're gonna have to start.
it'd be a fun thing to do this winter. It'd be
Mhm.
to produce a few videos where, because I've always wanted to do a, like, cocktail making a video kind of thing,
Yeah,
and so prep a few in advance and then throw that video segment in. That'd be fun. This is
I dig it.
rum, pomegranate juice, orange, and we have this Japanese sparkling soda or sparkling
Ooh,
water. It's with like mikan juice. some
Hmm.
Mekong fruit. So yeah,
Ayo.
it's good, refreshing.
Oh,
Delicious.
and I love that you themed it for Dune, like Sunset of
Hmm.
Yeah.
Arrakis. Far out, man. Just do
Yeah.
that every time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of rock it between, matching our drink to the holiday or matching our drink to, the show or the movie that we're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, I looked at the drink holidays. I'm like, I don't know those things
Yeah,
at
you don't
all.
feel it.
So yeah. So, all right. Well, good job, everyone. Cheers. Um, Pete, we'll start with you. It's been longer. How have you been? Specifically, like, what are the big moments that you've Oh, I should before we get there, I should preface for the audience. We're going to be talking about Dune. So if my drink
Hmm.
didn't give it away, we're going to be talking later in the show about the Dune 2021 edition. Um, and we'll be real
Theatrical
spoilery about it.
release. Yeah.
Yes, correct. So, all right. Sorry. What have you been up to? What's been the big media events for you recently?
The big ones, I would say, well, first I want to say it's Halloween during COVID. Last year, we decided not to go trick or treating. And so, Dark House still bought all the candy. We just kept the candy, which is good
That's
because then
no, that's not good.
we got all the candy bars. We didn't have to bring back all the crap that the kids didn't want, right?
Hmm.
And they're like, oh no, when we'd wind up donating that to military or the schools.
See, we also did a similar thing last year, mostly because I was pregnant during Halloween last year. So
Right,
we just like bought all the Halloween candy, and I was like, cool. Now I don't have to pretend like I'm gonna give it away to children and not eat it
right,
myself.
right. So people are like, "Oh, aren't you going to be glad to go out trick or treating this year?" I'm like, "Last year I just got to sit on my couch, eat candy, and I think we watched Ghostbusters, so
Nice.
that was fun."
Yeah.
But this year, Andrew, you're gonna appreciate this, or maybe you already do, when the kids start saying "we," and you know darn well "we" doesn't mean that they're gonna do anything.
Mm. Hmm.
So usually we have a Halloween party in our garage, but we've just canceled the last couple of years due to COVID issues. But my family is like, well, we should take those Halloween decorations and put them up in the yard like everybody else on our block. And
Mm.
I'm lazy. I don't want to do it. I know I'm going to be doing it all, but then there'd be the token. Well, can I help? I'm like, I don't know what you can do.
Hmm.
You're this big, and I need to.
Count the light
So
bulbs.
yeah, yeah. So I broke down this year and I decorated the yard, and so that was a lot of fun. Um, and I got to cross off my bucket list. I've been meaning, probably since I was a kid,
Hmm.
to be for Halloween Gene Simmons.
Nice.
And so got the wig. I got some homemade shoulder pads. Made my own
Nice.
battle axe bass guitar. And my
Nice.
wife did an amazing makeup job.
Nice.
And I got to tell you, it was a dream come true uh, to look that cool. Had the bonfire in the front yard.
Hmm.
My wife took the kids trick or treating, and I got to stand in the front yard and listen to Kiss Alive for 3 hours in my front yard. And a lot of kids would come up, and they were like cool with it or confused or scared. There was always a reaction, right?
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
And my takeaway was it was like the opposite of Back to the Future when Marty McFly is playing Johnny Be Good, and the people in the audience are like appalled, and he says,
Yeah.
you may not like this, but your kids are gonna love it.
Yep.
To all the little kids who were kind of scared, I would say, you may not like this yet, but your parents love it because the
Hmm.
parents were asking permission to take pictures of me. I felt like one
Nice.
of those, you know, almost replica
Cosplayer.
people outside a man's Chinese theater trying to make money.
For
So
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
it was a big thrill. Halloween was a good time.
Awesome.
Kids got a lot of candy, and our block actually barricaded the ends of the block. They got permits, so it was a safe block to walk up and down. There weren't cars flying up
right.
Okay.
and down because the block north of us, some of those houses go crazy, and people come in from all over just to trick or treat up and
Oh, yeah.
down that block, and so we would get some spillover for that. But this is the first year that I tried to compete, and with all the Halloween stuff that I've got in my garage for our garage party, I was
Mm-hmm.
able to successfully light up and decorate our yard a little bit. So it was a good time. Big hit.
You made a good showing.
Yes, I
Well,
represented well. We got lots of compliments. So
now the
Excellent.
pressure's on for years to come.
I don't know about that. Right now, I'm not feeling it.
Okay.
Like, I have no problem decorating the garage. I think it's indoors, and I don't have to worry about
Hmm.
Yeah,
wind,
yeah.
Yep.
rain, snow, leaves, thieves, sticky fingered children.
Well, that's why, like, we always bought those tombstones, and they're just foam.
Yeah,
Yep.
Those aren't staying around. Those are
no,
going away. So if you put them inside, yeah. That's why we transitioned to just like crosses, white, like
there you go.
unnamed
You can
graves for the yard.
nice.
Nail them in the ground.
I'm
So
gonna I'm gonna steal that and call it my own idea.
yeah, it's great. I love it. We put some lights by it this year. We put I took a tree that was dead and like cut off the branches and kind of carved it into a spike, and then
Yep.
threw a like fake body on it. And threw some blood on it and stuff. So
Yeah, I
What?
enjoyed it.
You have pictures of that?
I don't know if I did take pictures. That's ridiculous. I just took it down actually. Maybe I do. I don't know.
Here, I'll send you. I'm sending some of the Halloween photos.
Nice.
Where's
Nice.
the
Well,
yard?
did you get in
Yeah.
any good horror movies this season then? Did you manage
I
either
got
some
in.
new
So
ones
I
or
got in
some older ones?
one I didn't like, and when I liked. Did we have? Did we talk about *Malignant* yet? On the
I mean,
no,
on the show.
like you and I were like,
Yeah.
it was terrible, but we loved it, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Samesies.
it was good, awful, and then Ashley was like, just straight awful.
Yeah.
How could you
Yeah.
defend that movie? Like, well, it was, yeah, yeah,
I still haven't looked, but I'd like to see some um like interviews with the director on that.
Sure.
Just I'd like to
Mm,
see some breakdowns or a commentary track or something like
yeah.
that.
What were you
I think that'd
thinking
be
here?
worthwhile.
Because if I'd have been watching it on HBO, uh, I might have changed the channel in the first 5 minutes. Like, this is going to be like a bad throwback early '80s sci-fi horror movie. Like, this is no good. Didn't like it.
Mhm.
And then it kept going. And then I had the, oh no, now this is going to be a terrible choices movie. Like, oh no, the lights go off down in the hallway, and then we hear a noise,
Mhm.
and somebody is standing right by the light switch, and they take 3 steps into the darkness and go, "Hey, what's going on down there?" Like,
Hmm.
everybody's like, "No,
Yep.
I thought we were better than this now. After Cabin in the Woods, we were better than this now."
That movie didn't exist in this universe, I
I
guess.
guess
So,
no.
mm,
Everybody's still making bad decisions that no normal sane people would make
yep,
without.
yep.
What was it? They had some sort of narcotic gases.
Yes.
And it's like, hey, no, let's start making bad choices now.
Yep.
Mhm. Well,
Let's start
awesome.
having our sexy times and going off into the woods by ourselves.
Right.
Yep.
This is
Yep,
it. This is where we're gonna
Yep.
get freaky
Yep.
with the bugs. We're gonna not
yep,
be in the cabin.
yep. Well, speaking of sexy times, how was your week, Andrea?
Oh boy.
Hello.
Do you know something I don't
No,
know about my
I don't
week?
know. I'm just setting everybody up here
Are we
for
referring
high
to
expectations.
our pre-show conversation about Chris and his soundbar?
Oh.
Goodness. I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
Um,
He's ready.
I've been good. It's been a shorter week, so I haven't watched too much in the interim since Friday. But I have gotten a little farther in Cowboy Bebop. Um, which I realize I'm like so late to the party, everybody. I get it. But I'm just trying to make sure that I watch it before the live action Netflix version comes out, which I think is later this month or early next month.
Really?
Really.
Hmm.
I think it's
Yeah, it
soon.
can't
It's
come
it's
soon
happening
enough.
quickly. I
Yeah.
know you're so excited. Contain it, John.
How many episodes are you in? Do you recall?
Just like 6 or 7.
Okay,
So I
that's
mean,
pretty good.
I'm trying to chug along. Um,
Yep.
but also I watched Dune again to prepare for our conversation tonight, and I'm really glad that I did. More on that later. Um, I also I shouldn't have started because now I'm like in the grips of like the most interesting scandal ever. I started Real Housewives of Potomac, and
Oh,
I'm like in the midst of the whole like Michael Ashley, you know, dr-
again? Oh, wait.
because it's
You were not caught up, or
no, because I'd seen like 2 episodes of Potomac, and
gotcha.
finally was like,
Yeah.
I need to have some context for this. And so I'm like in like the midst of seasons 4 to 5 when like
I don't want to hear
fan.
your putting off Cowboy Bebop for Real Housewives of Potomac. Okay, I mean I appreciate myself, Potomac ladies, but
Oh my God, I can't help it though. I can't help it. It's so crazy. This like whole
okay,
drama that's happening.
yeah.
So I'm trying to
From
like switch
Alan,
between Potomac and Cowboy Bebop.
a week from Friday, Cowboy
Yeah, Bebop.
Bebop
A week,
on
Yep.
yeah,
Netflix.
November
Sounds
19th.
good.
Okay.
19th. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if I'd
So
seen that for Wheel of
get your
Time or
priorities
for Cowboy
straight,
Bebop.
Andrea.
Hmm.
Yes. So clearly I'm gonna need to like really get it going on Cowboy Bebop so I can finish in time. Um,
Pete, have you
yeah, sorry.
seen Cowboy Bebop? I know you've watched plenty of
Not
anime, but
religiously. Yeah. No,
okay,
I
here and
saw it.
there.
I liked it. I have friends who swear by it, dress up like characters for Halloween,
Yeah, be me.
Hmm.
Yep.
and I may be wrong, but I thought during my friend Rob's wedding, he and his groomsmen walked into the theme song for Cowboy Bebop. I believe
Wow,
that's a true
Oh,
story.
cool.
that's I'll go with it. It's true in my mind now.
Mhm.
That's good.
It's out there on the internet. It's got to be true.
Yep. Hmm. Well, awesome. Yeah. Are you enjoying it so far, Andrea? Is it
Yeah. I mean,
obvious?
I felt like I traditionally do with anime where I needed to get past the first episode to like take it all in, kind of get settled into the universe, get into like, who am I meeting, what's going on.
Hmm.
But really it was a lot faster for me. Like normally I need like 2, 3 episodes to really sense if I'm going to like an anime. And this one I felt like even in episode 2, I was like, yeah, I'm digging this vibe and I'm like feeling the storytelling. Um, I did switch to dub because I was
Okay.
curious, and
Yeah.
I'm finding I like it a lot better than I like the sub actually,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
again is so
I know
unusual for
it's
me.
unusual. Yeah. Well, it's kind of a rarity in anime today, I think, to have something so episodic that it's like it's not so much a soap opera, like
Yeah.
one to the next. There, and that's why I think one thing they do very well is pacing the overall character lines and stories throughout the entire
Hmm.
season, so they can conclude well at the end. But each episode is so contained often,
Yes.
and you kind of here and there get an episode that sort of furthers each person or
Hmm.
focuses on a person or whatever. So you don't have to have like this 4 episode build up because every episode's dependent on the previous so much.
Yep.
A lot of Bebop episodes you can just watch that one and it's great.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
I think they do that really well, and I'm very much enjoying it. So
Right on. What are
we'll
you
see.
watching it on?
Hulu.
Hulu? All right.
Yep. Yep, I'd
Nice.
started it a long time ago. I'd watched like the first episode on Crunchyroll, and then it was like way too far in the past where I needed to watch the first one again, and found it on Hulu, and I think it's on one other like Tubi video or TV or something. It's on one other platform, but I can't remember what it is.
Okay. What should be Funimation? I would think they would have it.
I was gonna
But
say, I would imagine, but I haven't pursued it.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine it's also on Funimation. I just know I saw it somewhere else on like Pluto or Tubi or something.
Yep. Well, I did not get to rewatch Dune. I really wanted to before this, but I'm still planning on it. So we'll see what you guys say, and I'll bring that with me into my second viewing to see how
Mhm.
that colors my experience. I haven't done too much interesting, I guess. Really, just finished up work. I finally got back to Taekwondo.
Yeah, buddy.
So that was fun to be
Nice.
back. He went extra hard on me, I guess, because I've been gone so long. So that was fun. Um, and
When's
then
your
Animal
first
Crossing.
kumite?
What's that?
When's your first kumite? Blood
Kumite?
sport.
You know, usually I get injured every time we spar. This time I didn't. It's the first time, so I'm gonna take that as a win that it wasn't a blood sport.
Right
Um,
on.
yeah, but uh,
I'm
in the
gonna pretend
complete.
you didn't say Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Animal Crossing had a big update that's out now and everything. So I did just a little bit of that, got in so I could get the coffee shop going, and so then Ashley and I, while sitting right next to each other the other night, had a coffee date at the
Aw.
new coffee museum, and then or coffee shop, and then we did a tour of my museum. So yeah, Just,
The modern
uh,
date night.
yeah, yep. Yeah, and then I've been hunting deer season,
Mhm.
not rabbit season or duck season, deer season.
Unsuccessful or successful?
My so the last day I was working, my dad got one. So I
Okay.
was getting ready for work, and then he got one in the morning, and so I like rushed over to field dress it before I went out in the field.
Mhm.
And then yeah, I got the rest of the week to see if I get anything. Pretty short season, so.
Yeah.
All right. I won't belabor anybody with my other things for the week. We'll get into some news. We've got a theme going on here. Got
Mhm.
some Marvel, Disney, and stuff topics to talk about.
Indeed.
One of us, at least one of us, has seen Eternals. We're not going to get into spoilers about Eternals, so no one fear. But just to
I'm gonna
say
ruin them
that
all.
it just came out. It made I think 71 million domestically,
Yeah.
which was short of projections. They were kind of hoping for between 75 and 80.
Mhm.
Um, my source for like interpreting all this stuff is always Grace Randolph of from Beyond the Trailer. Bring her up a lot on this when talking about movie box office things. But according to her, the her assertion is that this movie seems to be Marvel's Batman versus Superman,
Mhm.
where it's falling short of expectations.
Mhm.
A lot of people are disappointed by it, but there's an incredibly vocal, passionate group of fans that are all in and really loving the film
Mhm.
and demanding sequel and all this stuff. Um, and it just has Marvel in a pickle here, because not only are their box office results been hampered by potential same time release on streaming, and then lockdown things, and then not getting their movies in China. It's like basically all their last three releases have not made a showing in China,
Mhm.
and so that's hurting them too. Though I think that Eternals is doing better than expected internationally,
Mhm.
considering it's not in China. So, Pete, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Few thoughts?
Uh, the movie makes me a hypocrite in this regard. So I was aware of the Eternals when I was collecting comic books as a kid. Never got into them. So I didn't have any of that equity that I feel towards other
Yeah.
Mhm.
properties. Like if you go to the first Iron Man, I just felt like, oh, it was just made with so much love. There's so
Mhm.
much attention to detail with with the comic, and I felt there was a real synergy there. And then as they went along, especially with Iron Man 3, I just felt huge disconnect from the source material from the comic, and that upset me. And so my stance has been that without the readers of the comic books, there wouldn't have been cartoon shows, there wouldn't have been action figures, there wouldn't have been that success to build upon, then have the movie. So I really wanted a genuine representation of the characters to the books that I cared about. Um, Otherwise, I just felt that, yeah, you're really taking advantage of people who are going to go to see it anyway, and then
Mhm.
just tear up all that source material and say I'm just going to do my own thing. So
Right.
that being said, not having that investment in the Eternals, I thought this was great. And then reading up that there was uh, a lot of, pun intended, deviation from the source material, that didn't bother me because I didn't have that reservation, like that attachment to the original characters. I thought the story was epic. I thought the effects were fantastic. Acting was great. Really, if you like the majority of the other Marvel movies, I have little doubt you will like this movie as well. I just
Mhm.
think a lot of the backlash is due to some other, like the diversity, the gender swaps with the characters. I just think it's a lot of stuff outside of the comic that is affecting it rather than the story itself.
Sure.
So great movie. If you like the other Marvel movies, go see it. Give it a chance.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, I want to see it.
Same.
I don't know if that I'll go to it in the theater. Having the and again, when we're talking box office numbers, Andrew and I have forever now about how expectations do need to be realigned here, because there will
Right.
be people that will wait for it to come on the streaming.
Mhm.
Everybody's playing with what window it is to be in theaters. James Bond now, the latest one, is now available to rent. It's
Yep.
$20 to rent. It's
Yep.
like premium rental, but it's available now. So they're all playing with this, and yeah, I don't know. I think I'm I echo a lot of your same sentiments there, Pete, with like feeling like a hypocrite and not knowing what to do about it exactly all the
Mm.
time. Like struggling with Shadow and Bone. We
Mm.
talked about it. I've never read it. I enjoyed it because I have no connection or understanding of the books. And Hollywood and everyone's done that for a very long time, taken something, a source material, and based something on it and drastically changed it.
Well,
Mhm.
before Marvel, before the MCU, all the Marvel properties failed in large. I shouldn't say all. A lot of the movies and made for TV shows failed because they didn't capture what made the comic books great,
Yep.
and they just
Yeah. So it was
people
a
were
turn of,
making.
yep. It was a turn of the tides for sure when they all of a sudden started releasing stuff that looked familiar to fans. Because why can't that's the thing. Why can't you make something that the fans would enjoy? If they do, it stands to reason others would as well. And if that's not like, if it's not broad enough appeal to you, then why are you trying to make a giant blockbuster summer flick out of that property? Like
Mhm.
there's other things to do, and people will go over time and time again. You can throw Vin Diesel on the screen and make him blow a bunch of stuff up, and people will go see it. Like,
Drive a fast car.
Yep.
yeah, right. Doesn't It's just not that tough to get some people in the seats, really. So
Yeah.
why do you have to take a dump on source material? But they know, like you say, you're not familiar with Eternals. Neither is 98% of the audience that's
Yes.
going.
Yep.
And a lot of these other properties too, they're just going to take advantage that the most people often know about Spider-Man previously was what he looks like.
Mm.
His name is Peter Parker, maybe. And then, like, so the mass audiences, they've learned everything about Spider-Man from the
Mm-hmm.
movies. Everyone that's gonna learn something about Eternals or Guardians of the Galaxy, I think is always the
Yeah.
the best example. You know, the only thing everybody knows about Guardians of the Galaxy they learned from the movies. Um, the vast majority.
Right.
And I don't know.
Like,
But
Mm.
again, going back to my personal experience, I knew of Star Lord and I knew of Rocket Raccoon as he was known, but I didn't know anything about, the Guardians of the Galaxy per se. That was after my time of collecting comic books. And I thought that was going to be the movie that killed all the momentum. Like, why are you taking
Mm-hmm.
this unknown superhero team and they're outer space guys? Like, who's going to want to see that? And
Mm-hmm.
yep.
proved me wrong. What a phenomenal movie. So, given that, I would hope that more people would say, well, let's give Eternals a chance, and I think you'll be rewarded. I get the, should I see it in the theater or should I see it at home? Like, the movie is gorgeous, and I recommend seeing it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, there's a theater in our area, the Riverview Theater, where you can see matinees for $5 throughout the
Nice.
week. So I
Mhm.
was able to take the girls to go to the movie for $20, and then we got snacks for $15. So $35 to go to the theater. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Where you can rent it for, like John said, 20 to $30. But if you go to an AMC and it's
Yeah.
still like $10 a kid, like,
Yep.
forget it, man.
Yep. So,
So
how do you feel about if so with something like Guardians of the Galaxy never caught on? Like I think people would probably argue, other than I suppose there's a uh, some semblance of a hardcore fan base of the source, but never caught on. People would probably argue it needed some life. It needed something different. It needed changes to make it more appealing. Like, we have something here, but it needs to be different. And so if they bring that to screen and it's different enough and people love it, is that fine? Because you don't necessarily want to adhere to source material just because, even if it's not great, and Marvel's not going to waste a property. But if you have something like Eternals that, it's been around a while, mild success, say more than Guardians of the Galaxy, I would think. How much can you change it, or how much does it need reimagining? And is that okay? I struggle with
yeah,
this myself when I critique things and go back and forth, and I don't know what the answer is. Um, exactly.
yeah. The movie was great, but
Wow, great even. That was not the impression I got when you first great. Wow.
yeah, no, I I
Okay.
I I liked so much about it. Um, mm, we're trying to do a spoiler free. Um,
Yeah.
uh, it's a different kind of story than what you'll typically find with the Marvel movies, and it spans. There is the Eternals, so I don't think it's
Mhm.
given too much away to say that it spans 7,000 years, and how cool it is to see where they are throughout history, and
Mm.
then you know just the different sets and the different cultures, and uh, it's really interesting to see things in the background. And then there are a couple of nice Easter eggs in there sets that'll set up future movies, and we'll talk about that. Maybe we won't talk about that off camera. Maybe we won't talk about that at all. Maybe you should see it first, and then you come back to me and go,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you know what this means, John." I mean,
Mhm.
if you're a Marvel fan, you're gonna get that. You're gonna get those.
Sure.
Oh, you know what this means, and I really liked visually how it was different, um, in terms of their use of powers, how that looked as opposed to Scarlet Witch
Mm.
versus Iron Man, where here's your technology with your repulsor beams, and this is what the hex magic looks like, and this is what the Eternals, and it's very distinct and it's very clean.
Okay.
Yeah, it check it out.
Yeah, it is one of those things where I think a lot of people are getting a burnout on the Marvel superhero movie and
Could
like the
be.
format of it and stuff, but then they kind of change it up and then it doesn't work for them.
Yeah,
You
You
people
know?
people like the familiar and they complain about it, but then you deviate and it's like, but where's my familiar, comforting,
Hmm.
standard plot that I've come to enjoy?
I call this taking my mom to a new restaurant syndrome. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to go someplace new, but I don't want to try anything I don't know. Right.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
So we'll go to a new place. I'm gonna have a hamburger. Oh, this is a nice hamburger. But we didn't have to go to a new place to get, the
Yeah.
same hamburger. Like, and if the hamburger is different, then you're gonna complain. But at least it's a new restaurant. Or like, try new
Yeah.
food. Try something else on.
Sure.
You go to like a different nationalities like food cuisine of choice, and then you go there and you get the like token American dish that
Right.
they just provide for the people that are like freaked out by something, you know?
Mhm.
Oh,
So
it's like
my
the kids menu. I'll take the chicken fingers instead, you know?
my dad is, Minnesotan, Scandinavian, spice averse, right?
Hmm.
So he loves spaghetti, or so he thinks, right? I mean, he grew up on ragu, loves spaghetti, right? But anytime we go to an Italian restaurant,
Yeah.
red sauce and noodles, like this red sauce is really spicy. I don't know what they're thinking. I'm like,
Mm. Oh,
it's
this all this
not.
pepper,
Oh god.
black
I don't,
peppers.
that oregano is killing you, huh? So
Yeah. I
so
understand.
I'm still seeing, yeah, being a big fan of Marvel and the written and the cart and the animated and the feature film. I can see where more the majority of people who don't have that same love of Marvel that I do are getting burnt out. That's fine, but don't turn it into negative reviews
Sure.
saying,
For
"Oh,
sure.
I felt that the negative reviews of uh, Captain Marvel and Black Widow probably were by people who weren't interested in strong female lead characters. That's just my bun hunch. I don't know, because I felt both of those movies were in alignment with the other Marvel movies. And now you have a diverse cast with Eternals, and I think this movie is in the same league as Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers.
Sure.
Now, do I like Eternals more than those two movies? I don't. I think it's really good, and I think it's worth watching. But Avengers, come on! My whole life I've been waiting for Thor and Hulk to get in a scrap. I got to see it, and I got to see it done well.
Mhm.
So that has an advantage over the other two movies.
I think the box office is always the better tell than reviews. Like reviews become increasingly less reliable. I mean, right now you look at Rotten Tomato for Eternals and critics score is very low. It's like low 40s or something like that. Audience, they actually got the allegation is that they got review bombed positively. You know, that's always the
Mm.
allegation is one way or
Uh,
another on reviews. Audience members that
Interesting.
haven't even seen them, they're going off of rumors or hype or one thing or another, you know, and then they will review bomb whatever it is. It's a game or a movie or something in one direction or another. And
Hmm.
so it's supposedly to explain the dramatic offset between critics and audience in this case. Um, because it's, I think last I looked, Rotten Tomatoes score audience for Returnals was 90.
okay.
Wow.
It's high. Yet then the box office is below expectations and critic
Sure.
reviews are terrible.
That
Um,
that does seem a little odd, I have to say. I mean, not that it couldn't score organically in the 90s. It just does seem like a pretty wide gap. I was sort of expecting more like high 70s, maybe low 80s,
mhm. Right.
given what I've heard critically and from viewers who have reviewed.
Yep. Yep, 47% from critics,
Hmm.
80% from audience.
Okay,
So
that seems
that's
more
what it's being at.
believable organically to me, I guess.
Um,
Still
yeah,
wide, but not as
yeah,
crazy as like in the
yeah.
90s.
It's just often the reverse, you
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
Um, but for I don't know. Everybody's got to see it and decide for themselves. We
Yeah.
Pete and
Yeah,
I
I
have been
feel more
so
intrigued
off.
about like seeing this now.
We've been so reversed on um Marvel movie
Yeah.
opinions recently.
We haven't
And
even brought
so
up Shang-Chi. Right.
yeah, so I think it's really been it is if in nothing else, it's showing that maybe the latest films are less broad appeal
Hmm.
or something because it's pretty fast. It's pretty interesting. It was like so everybody agreed before Thor 2 is not that great.
Hmm.
That's a
Correct.
weak link, you know?
Yeah.
It's like Incredible Hulk, all right,
Not good.
Avengers 2, Iron Man
Loved it.
3. Like everybody agreed of the kind of the weaker parts. It's like
Yep.
almost universal in a lot of ways. And then what's your favorite? Yeah, obviously changes and some of that. But now it's been so split. Um, and so I can see that effect because I thought Shang-Chi was great. I thought that was different enough, had a different kind of story, different sort of action sequences. It's just so much different about it. And I'm excited if Marvel can do the martial arts verse
Yeah.
or subsection of the world well. That would be and so but then like Black Widow, I mean Andrea and I talked about that.
Hmm.
Um Terribly disappointing. I talked some too about the timing of that film
Yes.
and where that probably hurt it a lot as well, um, which is hard to talk about without going into
Spoiling,
spoilers on
yeah.
that. But
But because I mean, without going into spoilers, because the mainstream Marvel movies let you know about Black Widow's fate, Black Widow Solo felt lower stakes because you already knew some outcomes.
right,
And
yeah, it's
that's
like there's a
Hmm.
that's where we felt like things were disappointing because we already knew things that happened.
and Taskmaster was a
That was,
joke.
yep,
Um,
that
I
was
think it
tough.
destroyed that character. There were good parts. I think that the new up and coming woman is great. She had great roles in there,
We
great
we
lines
can't
and
we
Our
stuff.
can't
sister?
say
No, I just can't think of her name.
White
Um,
Widow. We'll just call her
okay,
White Widow.
okay,
Yelena.
yeah,
Yeah.
she
Florence
was great.
Pugh, the actress.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so
Oh, Alan was right there.
yep. um, we should um, we should do an episode sometime that is all MCU spoiler filled discussion. I think we talked about
Indeed.
it before, but like just state of the universe, what we're
John,
hoping
you got to
for.
see Eternals so we can talk about the
I was gonna say
spoilers.
we're gonna have to see Eternals
Yeah,
to do that and talk about like the new phase that MCU is
yeah,
moving in, um, which will
It's
partially be
actually
made
going to go
easier.
whoop this way, right here. There's going to be a
yeah,
whole lot of outer space
Yeah,
stuff, and then there's going to be, you know,
yeah.
taking it
very
to the
focused.
streets.
Yep.
And then some way, hopefully, to bring
Oh
it
yeah,
all together at the end
Hmm.
of the phase. Yeah. Yep. Well,
But
we'll stick on the.
seeing, I was gonna say, seeing that these parts of the MCU is gonna be easier as of this Friday, Disney
Yeah, there
Plus
you go.
Day.
Mm-hmm. What we got going on then?
I think
Disney
Shang
is
Chi
Yeah, Disney
is
is releasing a bunch of newer movies on its streaming platform that were previously either unavailable or were available for a cost for premium,
they're
like
bringing back
Jungle
that.
Cruise. So Shang-Chi is going to be available. Jungle Cruise will be available. Um, Season 2 of The World, according to Jeff Goldblum, will be available. One other thing that caught my eye was a series called Under the Helmet: The Legacy of Boba Fett, which I'm imagining they're releasing in advance of
The
the book of
time.
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, and there's a bunch more that they're releasing as well. They're also doing some ebook and short story releases with their publishing partners, so you'll get um, kind of a further exploration of the Loki series via ebook. They're also doing The Mandalorian,
Wow.
which I think is also an expansion of the show. It's going to have like some elements of the show, but then some expanded side stories. So a lot more with that. But yeah, that's coming up in just 2 short days.
Okay.
You can also, I think they're trying to up subscribers. So I think they're doing a deal where like the first month of Disney Plus is going to be like $1.99 or like
I saw
something.
that somewhere.
Yeah, something fairly similar, that cheap. So if you want to watch Disney Plus for like a month, try to get your eyeballs on as much content as you can for $1.99. It's happening this Friday.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I think
And
they're isn't
go
Hawkeye
ahead.
coming out later in the month?
Yeah, like
I
November
think
29th, maybe. Is that
yeah.
is that
And
There's
Alan? Back
my
me up.
man Alan's going to be working on that.
there's there's a
Exactly.
lot. There's a lot coming pretty quick.
Yep.
I'm kind of a little more excited for Hawkeye than I thought I'd be.
Yeah.
Just it
November
seems like they're
24th.
pushing
That's
the
so close.
Christmas stuff, Christmas
November
element, and so
24th.
I think it'll be good kind of Christmas show. On that day as well, the 12th year, they're upgrading movies to the IMAX version.
Yep.
So if you go to IMAX for these movies, when the moments that are shot with an IMAX camera, then obviously the aspect squishes and gets much taller.
Mhm.
You see, you have more image there, and so all modern movies basically aren't 16:9. They're squatter than that, wasting all this space on your television. It's
Right.
garbage. That's why you got to buy as big a TV as you can. Well, this version now, it will fill the screen. So in those IMAX moments, you're going to get the full picture. Which, can we just shoot movies like that? I know it's like old to do and they do it with television and stuff, but do you guys have an opinion on this? Like aspect ratio, preference?
The only time I can think of where I thought somebody like played with it well was in WandaVision
Oh
when
Okay,
yeah.
they were doing the black
sure.
and white, and it
Yep.
was different ratio, and then through the decades it
Yep.
varied. I thought that was really cool. So it's one of those. If you don't notice it, it doesn't bother you. But if you
Mhm.
notice it, then you're like, it'll drive you bonkers. So
It normally never doesn't bother me, but then I all of a sudden play a video game and it's like,
right.
Sure.
wow, my TV's way bigger. Or I watch Battlestar Galactica. It's like, well, taking advantage of this entire screen. It just if we're gonna have a slimmer standard for movies, I wish you would have just made them with TVs that,
Sure.
and we'll deal with bars on this left and right for
Mhm.
everything else. So, anyways, sidetracked. Um, yeah, so that'd be good. Sticking with Marvel, Spider-Man: No Way Home is coming soon as well.
Mhm.
I might
Um,
have to leave because I don't want any spoilers.
well, I won't say any spoilers. I
No.
won't say any. I'll just say that I'm not gonna spoil it because I haven't seen the last one.
What?
I know. I'm
You
gonna
didn't
get
see
there.
Mysterio?
No,
Jake
no,
Gyllenhaal? These
no.
are a few of your favorite things.
I mean, I do like Jake
Ashamed.
Gyllenhaal. I do like Jake Gyllenhaal. I will get there. I'm hoping to do a Spider-Man show
Mhm.
in December, and maybe rewatch and talk about some of the previous films as well. Maybe for some favorite storylines from the comics or anything like that.
I feel like we
Too.
have to do a Spider-Man episode with the way that we throw around how much, like it's an example of like movies getting remade too soon and too
Yeah.
often. Like there's no way we cannot have a Spider-Man show at this
We gotta
point.
talk about it. We gotta talk about favorite Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't
So
know. That might ruin some friendships.
Wow. I mean, we had a Batman episode. It was just Andrew and I. We had Batman, and we had
Yep.
our friendship's intact after that. I
All
mean,
right.
Yep.
discuss, so I don't know.
Because you
Yep.
both
Became-
We
agreed
made it.
that Christian Bale is the best Bruce Wayne.
No, no.
Yeah.
We
And
we
he's
did have
he's
very different thoughts,
I did have different thoughts, yeah.
especially on who is the better Bruce Wayne versus who is the better
Yeah,
Batman.
yeah.
right.
Because
Yeah.
those are very, very distinct.
Yes. Yes.
So
Okay, so give us your, if you got it, Pete. What is it?
I would say that Keaton looked like Batman. Like the suit was perfect. They went from the comic, and when I saw him on the screen in that suit, I go, I know that's not his body; it's fake muscles, and I don't care, man. That's just a great looking Batman outfit. But when he was out of his suit, I was like, there's no way he's Playboy millionaire Bruce Wayne. He didn't do it for me.
Okay.
Whereas when I saw Christian Bale being, the Playboy brat, I go, yep, that's the character. He's grasping the false persona there.
I
But when
never
Bale,
read Bruce Wayne that way.
I'm
Never read
I
him
have to
that
say
way.
I'm so disappointed you didn't say George Clooney with his nipples as your Batman. How is that not the answer, obviously?
Mhm, mhm.
not even a little bit.
No, it's nobody's
Andrea,
answer.
refresh us. What was your picks?
For Bruce Wayne versus Batman.
Yeah,
So Val Kilmer.
As
that's where we agreed
Yep.
as Bruce
Yep.
Wayne.
As Bruce
As
Wayne.
Bruce Wayne.
Yep, we felt it.
Hands
Okay.
down. I won't
Yep.
take nothing. I will not accept your answer, Pete. Val Kilmer is Bruce Wayne.
And here's where we diverged. I felt that Christian Bale as Batman, and he felt Keaton.
Stop the
as Batman.
podcast. Stop the
Yeah.
podcast right now.
See, but we can all have we can all kind of have some common ground. A little, Pete and I agree, Batman, Michael Keaton. And I think that his voice is right.
Yes,
Like that's one of my biggest complaints with Christian Bale.
I know.
Yeah.
Keaton doesn't
I
have
totally
to
get
try.
that.
He just is like, I don't know.
I totally
right.
get that.
I would laugh at Christian Bale as Batman because at first he looks so uncomfortable. But the mask is just so tight, it made his face do this the whole time. And then it made him talk like this. And why aren't these criminals laughing at him? He's not scary. He's he's a dude in a small outfit, right?
And see, like it's so funny because like I had a very different reaction to like I mean I do grant you like there was like some ill fitting of the suit in the first movie and like I had to adjust to the voice, which I think got better. But I felt like Christian Bale himself felt more uncomfortable as like Bruce Wayne. Like that party playboy, like I felt like a little bit of Christian Bale's personality was bleeding through and he's such like a workaholic that he just like couldn't fully relax and like have fun in some of the scenes where I just felt like they needed to like have more joy in them.
That's him
And I don't
trying to be tortured.
and like
He's
I
like
just
putting on the act.
right, like I don't know if it was like Bale or if it was Nolan, just like shooting the whole film in like a darker feel that just like didn't allow those moments of joy to like be maybe as full as they could be. There always needed to be an element of like there's something dark here, there's something lurking here. But I just felt like he didn't fully embrace the moments. Like it was almost there.
Okay.
But that's my my opinion, and that's where I thought like Joel Schumacher Val Kilmer pairing was like worked really well. Where like there was that silliness and joy, and like Playboy millionaire Bruce Wayne worked in those movies or in that movie in particular movie. Obviously not. Nobody's.
I've got to
talking
get you
about
out of
George
those
Clooney.
clothes, doctor, and into a black dress.
Tell me,
That's
do you like the circus?
Well, we jumped ship completely from Marvel
Yes.
to DC there.
Woof.
We'll um swing back on over to the other ship. I'll say quickly thank you, the Thick King, for jumping into chat. Yes, super leaks indeed when it comes to Spider-Man. We won't talk
Yes.
about them. But man, this movie has been under promoted. They haven't,
Hmm.
it's like mere months away, less than, and we've seen very little from it. The word on the street is that they're having a hard time getting the visual effects done in time.
Mm.
They're hiring out to other
Mm.
groups to get stuff covered, and this is
Interesting.
maybe where the source of all these leaks is they're not having the normal people that
Ah,
are so vetted and close knit or whatever doing all the visual effects.
Mm.
And so it's been kind of weird. Maybe they're thinking, well, we don't need to promote this as much right now because it's being promoted via rumor mill and
right.
leaks by itself.
I say false.
It could also be that they're worried about hitting the date and reserve the right to push it back if they have to. And if they get too overzealous
True.
with promotion, we run into a Black Widow situation where everybody's getting hyped, getting hyped. We're delaying that. Getting hyped, delaying it. And then we're putting all this money into promotion and PR. And by the time the
Hmm.
thing actually comes out, people are overexposed from it already.
True.
Um,
Mhm.
so I don't know.
Have you
It'd
ever
be
have you ever been in that situation where you're excited to see a movie and then it was delayed or whatever, and then you're just like, "Ah, the heck with you, I'm not gonna see it."
well, not see it, but Black Widow and Bond, the two notoriously delayed films,
Hmm.
I would
It's tough.
normally be there right away, day one. I still haven't
Right.
seen James Bond. I haven't
And
like
that's
That's
made the
crazy
point.
to
crazy
me.
for
Right,
you.
Yeah.
right.
Like I've
So
seen it. I took time to get a babysitter and go out to the movie theater and go see
well,
it.
and then they put it in October. Normally it's in November, and I wouldn't be
Right.
working, and so I would go.
Mm,
Now I'm in the field. I'm not, whatever. So I just it didn't, and it
Right.
wasn't right on streaming right away. And
Extra
but yeah,
factors.
by the
Yeah.
time it just felt like this movie already been out now
Hmm.
because I've seen it so much and heard about it so much, and then they were trying to sell it off to other companies, sell it to Amazon for ridiculous prices and stuff,
Hmm.
exclusive rights or whatever,
Yep.
and yeah, it just like really put a sour note on it. But I guess it'll be good because I'll go in with lower expectations and then maybe be surprised or something. So,
Maybe
but
you were thinking you'd already seen it because of the other movie that I keep
well,
pretending that it is,
I
which is No
knew I
Time to
hadn't seen
Kill.
it, but it felt that way. Um,
I keep wanting
so
to call it like No Time to Kill instead of No Time to Die, and I have no idea. Literally zero. Why?
I really think it should be the next one. Really throw people for a loop. I
Yep.
mean, yeah. But if you want to see Spider-Man leaks, they're out there. Go for it.
Hmm.
I'm excited for this film, even though I haven't seen the last one. Even though I've like cooled off on Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Um,
blasphemy.
I mean, I think that I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think that we'll talk about it on a Spider-Man episode, but
Hmm.
I was kind of cool with Andrew Garfield, honestly. He kind of like was the
Stop the
right.
podcast.
Pete's like
It's tough.
first we have wildly different Batman views. Now we have wildly different
Yeah.
Spider-Man views. I can't take it anymore.
Hmm. Yep. Um, yeah. All right. What's this other story you have in here? Ebook short story releases. This is
Oh
still
yeah, that's just part of
pertaining to
the.
Marvel.
Yep, that's part of the Disney Plus Day, the
Oh,
stuff that's
okay.
coming out. Yep, so it's just across like multiple platforms. They're going to be releasing a lot of different content
Okay. All right, nice.
in honor of
And
this Disney
then
Plus Day.
um Marvel also recently released a Guardians of the Galaxy video game that
Yes.
was no one was interested in and now everybody loves upon
Yes.
release, reviewing very well. So we'll use that to jump to your video game topic.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, Xbox is celebrating the 1 year anniversary of the Xbox Series X and S releases. And they also today decided to release a special Forza controller, which
okay.
is basically just an
Yeah.
Xbox controller with different design. But
Well, they
it's pretty
love to
sweet
make
looking.
different different patterns. It's definitely a benefit of the platform if you're interested in if you're a fan, there's a lot of controller choices, and you can customize your own that
Yep.
are pretty awesome. So yeah, 1 year anniversary. It's almost the 20th anniversary of Xbox. They're having an
Mhm.
event coming up soon to celebrate that as well.
Yep.
So I always say I remember getting the original Xbox, and we got home. We don't live real close to town. It was late. Plug it in. It doesn't work. So my sister and
No.
I are sitting there.
Oh God,
New
crushing.
games. We just traded in old consoles and games to get this one, and we gotta wait till tomorrow to go back
Ugh,
to town. So
ugh, too long.
Boo.
That's the
yeah,
worst.
at least it wasn't short supply like we have,
Right.
other systems have had or we have now where it's difficult to find. So we could just go
Right.
back and exchange. But yeah,
Still, ugh, nothing
hmm
worse.
yep. Well, I could think of things worse, but yeah, it's annoying. All right, we'll get into our main topic here.
Mhm.
But we might as well talk a bunch of Marvel things with Pete, and we'll have to have you back for like the full on spoiler everything Marvel because we do have so many different views on this. And that's been a complaint is that Andrea and I agree too much. So, um, anyways, Dune 2021
Mhm.
release of Dune, adaptation of the famed book by Frank Herbert. Pretty important piece of fiction, I guess. We'll get into that, and we'll get very spoilery. So you have not seen yet the movie Dune, the latest one. You
Or
should.
read the book.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say, I would prefer personally, having not read the book, that we keep book stuff to a minimum. Like we tread the topics that the books cover in this film, as opposed to what it left out because it could potentially be covered going forward.
Sure. No.
So this movie is very clearly intended to be a part one.
Mhm.
Um, and
That was not made clear to me.
You mean it
um,
before or after seeing the movie?
So this is one of the things that bothered me about the movie, and
Sure.
I don't mean to jump ahead.
No, that's okay.
no, go ahead.
John's still in setup. So I don't like trailers. I just want to get my money's worth. It's just something that I do now because in the past I've watched a lot of trailers and a lot of behind the scenes before the movie comes out, and I get excited for the movie, and then when I see the movie, I've seen the punchlines, the jokes, some of the surprises. I know some of
Mm,
the cameos that are coming up, and then it diminishes my love of the movie that I paid for,
sure.
which is dumb because why would I hurt myself laughing at a trailer and then be disappointed that I heard the same joke in the movie?
Right.
Mhm.
It was funny. I just had heard it so many times that it didn't do anything for me while I was in the movie, and then so I thought left the movie going, man, I thought that was going to be funny. Like, no, it was funny. I just seen.
Yeah.
Right.
So because of that, it happened to me a couple of times now. I just like, oh, if I'm interested in the movie and I'm familiar with it, I don't need to see the trailer for Spider-Man. I don't need to see the trailer for Black Widow, Eternals, Halloween Kills, which was atrocious, and we can talk about that some other time. So I
Yes.
just knew I was going to see Dune, um, and the saw the first movie when it came out in the '80s with Sting, and didn't like it. I thought
Mhm.
it just didn't. It came out after Star Wars, and yet it looked incredibly terrible compared to Star Wars.
Right.
Uh, so, and it wasn't until decades later that I actually read the book. So I just went into this assuming it was going to be all done in one movie.
Mm, yep.
And so when it wasn't, I was like, I felt like I was extorted. I
Hmm.
paid full price to see the
Mhm.
full movie, and
Mhm.
oops, sorry, you're only going to get half of it. But that's just not.
That's that's a very legitimate feeling. Because for me, not having any context, which I hated. I hated not having read the book and gone into this with like any pre-knowledge. I finished my first viewing of the movie going, "Oh, so this is clearly supposed to be like multiple movies. I did
Yeah.
not know this."
Right.
I had that same feeling of feeling cheated of like a fuller movie. Not that what was there wasn't good, but
Right.
there was an expectation that I had going in thinking like this is complete, and it's even not having read the books, it so clearly wasn't
And the
complete.
movie was still over a couple hours long, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what lent me the impression that I was going to be getting like a fuller,
Right.
content-wise movie.
And partially joking, but it did get so repetitive when he'd have his visions, and
Mhm.
I disparaged them and called them dream ballets. Like, why do we have so many slow motion shots of her dancing across the sand? If it would have been played in normal time, we would have seen the whole movie, and there would have been time to finish the whole movie at the end. It could turn into a 3-hour movie, and I already got my money's worth.
Mhm.
So the pacing for me was not good. It didn't need all the visions, the dream ballets. So, like John, I think I would benefit from a second viewing
Mm.
of the movie.
Yes.
I can invest another 2 hours and 35 minutes. Thank you, Alan, for telling me the runtime to see it again. And if I see it at home, I can fast forward the
Mhm.
dream ballets, and then that'll be it'll be
Mhm.
even less time. It'll be
Mhm.
maybe under 2 hours long.
So
So,
maybe you'll
so
appreciate the craft of the ballet uh second time.
Get some new moves in there,
Yeah.
new ballet moves.
uh,
I
Have
did
your favorite ballet queued up. So you just hit play when that
like
goes and you mute the
some
TV
Swan
and
at,
Lake.
yeah.
at one point, didn't you say, "Is she ever going to talk? Have it be like in this
No, I
movie?"
didn't. I didn't actually. No.
I have to say I felt that way. I felt misled from what trailers I did see about Dune, that Zendaya was going to be like a bigger part of this movie, and then I was like, she ever like popping in here like other than the
Mm.
dreams? But again, that was like my first viewing and not knowing that this wasn't going to be like a full, you know,
Yeah.
whole movie rather than like, I mean, it was a full movie, but it's so clearly a setup for other movies that,
When
there's just
you
no way.
saw The Empire Strikes Back, did you know it'd be a 2-year wait off a cliffhanger? No, you didn't.
But
You
that was a
didn't know
middle
that.
movie. I
That
I
already
was
know it
the
knew
was a
there
middle
was
middle
movie.
like
movie, but it
there
was a
I already knew there
cliffhanger.
was
It
like
was not
more.
done. It was
But I didn't go into this movie knowing like
Yeah.
it's part of
That's
something
not
more.
that's
Like
not a fair comparison, John.
Yeah. Empire Strikes Back, it's so clearly like sandwiched in the middle of something or multiple somethings. Like I didn't know at that point it was for sure a trilogy, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it usually is the second one that leaves off like that. It would be, I think, The Matrix as well, or whatever.
mhm.
And it comes from, I'm sure, the idea that you don't know if you're getting a sequel, which clearly they didn't hear. Which was, I will agree with you guys in the sense that, um, they to me this felt like something that should have all been shot at once. I wanted the Lord
Mhm.
of the Rings treatment here. I wanted these
Yeah.
people to disappear for a decade to shoot this
Yeah.
epic. I guess it didn't affect me in the same way because I knew there were so many books. So I
Mhm.
it's like, well, if this is gonna be a thing, it's not gonna be one film. Now you could expect the first book to be one movie,
The
but I'm
one
like, it's
called Dune?
definitely yeah, I know, but, I'm so down on Star Wars. The thing that when I saw this initially, I'm like, yes, give me a replacement science fiction epic. Like I want the thing now. I want the real thing to grab my imagination like Star Wars has failed to do in so long. And so I was
Mhm.
ready for multiple films, long run times, years to come. And that's what I was expecting from it. So I would have been
Mm.
disappointed if it's like, yep, we wrap this all up in one and,
Well,
no
and
sequel coming. And
to be fair, I'm not saying like wrap it all up in one. I just
Yeah.
expected more content in
Yeah.
this.
I
It
mean,
felt it felt a little light.
what if they had just called it Dune Part 1?
It would have been a totally different
Literally
mindset
Dune
Yeah.
going
Part
in.
1.
Yeah.
Seriously, or made it clear in some sort of fashion that this was part one of multiples. And I think I would have gone in with a different mindset because on a second viewing, that was one of the things that improved for me. I wasn't expecting so much
Mhm.
out of the movie and I clearly knew this time that it was a setup for more, that I could appreciate what was happening instead of like wondering if there was more coming.
Hmm.
Plus, there's also some major characters that didn't show up in this
Mm-hmm.
movie that are in the original movie or that are in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So with them not even being introduced, I was always strung along like, well, so and so's got to show up anytime now. Like, oh
Yep.
nope, we're just moonwalking through the desert and just because you got to do your ministry of silly walks or the worms will get you. I'm being
Yeah.
really, really mean to this movie, and I only have two major complaints. I've already voiced them. The good parts. Movie's gorgeous. Like John said, he wanted to see an epic. He wanted to see science fiction with a lot of imagination, and this movie has it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
It is wonderful settings, amazing decorations, the ships, all the ships, and going on the source material where they're talking about how to live in a desert. And now George Lucas was influenced by Dune. There's no
Yeah.
question, but unfortunately, Ray and her outfit was not influenced by how to live in the desert.
Yeah.
So
You remember when you remember when The Force Awakens came out and I was kind of positive on it and you were like, but Ray would not wear that in the desert. Like,
It's so
well, she's got
true.
her
and then you're
cute
like
little
Kylo
booties.
Ren's so whiny and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like completely flipped now. I mean, completely flipped, but
So part of that is you look at Dune.
Mm-hmm.
We're
yeah.
living in a crazy desert planet. We have to wear this special gear. We
Yeah.
need, breathing apparatus. Like, yes, this is how you live on a desert planet. Nope. She went to American Eagle and got some cutie little boots and some what are those
I should
Bursa
shop at American
sleeves?
Eagle. I'm kind of down with the look. I'm gonna
That's
pick
just
that
it.
up.
It was a great look.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
People loved
practical.
it, but it's suspension
She
of
wouldn't
disbelief.
actually
Yeah.
survive in a desert wearing that.
Holy crow, her shoulders would have been burned
Just
off. Like nobody
Right.
who lives in the desert.
Right.
yeah. No, I understand. I understand. And that's one thing I appreciate about this movie is that to me, it's taking. We were talking about this in the last episode where I feel like there isn't. We're getting a rush of things, because largely because of streaming services. So they have a little bit lower budgets or whatever, a little more cautious with special effects or whatever, and it's a rash of shows that feel very young adult
Mhm.
just because of their it feels made for TV yet. It's a little everybody's too porcelain, it's a little too clean, the special effects aren't quite as good. And I'm getting this vibe from Wheel of Time. I get this from Shadow and Bone. It doesn't feel serious enough. And as much as I might like it, when there's so much of this content, it's like, yeah, let's get all this science fiction and fantasy content out here now. But if it's not taken with the same kind of seriousness, I almost have this from Foundation from Apple as well.
Mm.
There's something of this. So when I see something like Game of Thrones or now in my mind Dune, that really feels real and the difference would be in Game of Thrones, Sansa is gorgeous, of course, but she wears things that get dirty or her hair is a little not perfect. She's not like in a glamour shot all the time.
Yeah.
She's
Should be
gritty.
it's a cold environment. Yeah. And then Shadow and Bone, it'd be like immaculate all the time. And I'm kind of tired of that sort of thing. And so when I saw Dune, I don't know, there was a authenticity about this film that they're really
Mhm.
taking it serious. It's like no expense spared kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate it because I haven't found that anywhere else in a long time.
Yeah, I think to be fair, Shadow and Bone and Foundation have pieces of that. Specifically, like when you said like Shadow and Bone is too clean, I agree. In the second half of the series, it's very clean. In the first half, when they're sort of like armying it up, people are muddy and
You
they
bet.
got
Yeah.
smears and Mal's got crap all over his boots because he's been out tracking and whatnot. And then when we sort of like enter the Grisha environment and everybody gets to be like cleaned up and royal, yeah, I definitely feel what you're saying. Like everybody's suddenly like in some glamour shots and we have luminous skin and whatever. And Foundation, definitely there's elements of that, especially when you think of oh my gosh, I'm not gonna think of like Lee Pace and his whole like dusk,
Right. Oh yeah.
dawn,
Yeah.
day,
Right.
brotherhood.
Mhm.
They are perfect and beautiful and gorgeous. And then you like get to like the actual exile, and there are I think some elements of again like what Dune is getting at, where they're living on this like really horrendously inhospitable planet, and the gear they have seems more appropriate to existence on Terminus, I think is the planet. It's sort of vaguely Dune like where they've
Oh,
got, like the whole
yeah,
soup.
in Foundation, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
in Foundation. Sorry, I'm like jumping. So they've got like that. Yeah, over here it's everything's too clean and pretty, and over here on the planet everything seems, or some things seem like more plausible. Nobody's existing in their like, tank tops and cute little
'Cause
buns and
didn't
trying to be on Terminus. Like we can survive. This is fine. But Dune feels like it's got it all together.
'cause, yeah,
Like
didn't
every aspect.
Dune feel real? It felt real at the
Yeah.
same time, it didn't pull any science fiction punches.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's
it didn't pull punches on weirdness. It
yeah.
still had that, but it felt real.
Yeah, that's what I think I'm trying to get at is that, like, throughout the whole movie, everything
Mhm,
felt of the same universe. It wasn't like half YA glamour shots, half like, "Oh, okay, you did this very realistically."
mhm. And I love as well uh I completely blanked. Someone else. Another thought. I completely lost my train of thought.
The
Okay.
casting.
Guessing. Okay. So big stars. Sometimes that's a problem.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's spend a lot of money on the cast and it's not worth it.
Oh, you're
Um,
right. With
but
Solo, right? Like you get the known actors and
yeah.
it's Woody Harrelson. You're like, but it's Woody Harrelson, man. Like
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I
this
mean,
isn't Star Wars, that's Woody.
I mean, I think that's a to a lesser extent, but yeah, I mean, it's common in like romantic comedies, or it works sometimes like Knives Out, big cast,
Yeah.
but the movie's great.
Got
It
lucky,
just
yeah.
sometimes it seems like the gimmick to get
Mhm.
everybody in is all these big names, and then
It's
it's the rest of the movie's not able
it's
to
a
really.
it's a thin line where if there's an actor who always plays themselves or like maybe they can only go one or two directions, as long as you like what they're bringing to the table, it's not um, distracting. So if we've got Dave Batista
Right.
in Guardians of the Galaxy, that's fine. Or if he's in the zombie movie and he's still like the tough,
Mhm.
angry guy, that's fine. Um, and now he's in Dune, and he's still the same character. I don't mind because that's character appropriate for
It
each
works.
movie. And I like Dave Batista. I like Woody Harrelson and a lot of things, but he just didn't work for me at all in Solo.
Hmm,
Mhm.
okay.
And then you've got Oscar Isaac, um, from Star Wars. Poe, not even close to being one of my favorite Star Wars characters,
Mhm.
but I got his Dune action figure right here. There he is. Like,
Nice.
oh
Moon Knight
wait,
for everybody.
that's
Yeah.
not Dune. Night coming out soon. Well, MCU, it all comes back.
Sneaky, sneaky.
I mean, I'm
Yep.
not trying to say like I'm a fan of Moon Knight or anything, and looking forward to
I,
that Marvel property coming out in any way, but yeah,
I'm looking forward to us disagreeing heartily on that show for
yeah.
some reason. I mean, I'm hoping it can be one that we both agree on that lives up
It's
to all your expectations
yep,
and
yep. I have impossibly high expectations
yeah.
for So going back to your original or earlier statement about Eternals, Eternals was a comic book that was published over a number of years.
Mhm.
So, in order to sustain that subscription for that amount of time, there was a core audience. And I don't want to be dismissive of that audience. And it could have been a readership of several hundred thousand, tens of thousands. I don't know the numbers for that. But whatever the number was, those people existed and those characters meant something to those people. And without those people, there wouldn't have been a continuation of Eternals Volume 2, Eternals in comic books, video games, cartoons, and now feature length movie. And I haven't heard an outcry from that demographic about how they're upset that their favorite character growing up is now someone of a different gender or a different race or sexual orientation. But their complaints are justified because this is what they grew up with, and if it wasn't for them, then there wouldn't be the Eternals movie now. There just wouldn't. You're standing on the shoulders of giants again.
Mhm.
So for me, and the few people who loved Moon Knight from the beginning, from the late 70s into the early 80s, that character was radically different than he is portrayed now in the comics. So I have great trepidation. I have nervous energy. I can't wait to see him. I don't know what he's going to look like in his costume on
Mhm.
camera. And worst of all, I don't know how he's going to be portrayed. Like, is he
Yep.
going to be, crime fighter, or is he going to be, this
Well,
nutcase, right?
and that's the thing. It really depends on who's who's the writer and conceptualizing this. And I think with Dune, that's a good example why I think that to me haven't heard outcrying on Dune either because I've
Hmm.
listened now since seeing it. Um, the about the director talking about it a lot and being a fan since he was a teenager. And
Yeah.
so caring about the source material so much, I think shows through. And so even if he has to change things, it's if it's always in the mindset of being true to the source. And Marvel, I think, is starting to get that wrong. They're starting to hire people that don't care at all about the source. They're not fans of the source. They don't know anything about the source. And so just a pet project to say what they want and do what they want with an IP. And so that was another thing that I appreciated about Dune was
Mhm.
the seeming appreciation and reverence for the source. They
He also has an escape though, John, where now that we know that it's only one of two, anything he left out, we can just well, I'm sure he'll include in the second movie,
well, and
right?
that's definitely gonna be. I mean, but that's when you watch Lord of the Rings, it's a similar idea where
Yeah,
we judge the movies individually, but they are a whole, and
right.
fortunately, they're all good. But that can often not be the case.
Mhm.
And so you're saying this is one of two. What if this is one of three? We don't know. You might be a
This is
All
cliffhanger
I'm
on the next
Hollywood,
saying
one.
is,
and they like to drag out their
The
movies into as
Hobbit was three
many parts
movies.
as possible.
Yeah.
The
So
Hobbit was the shortest book of all, and it got to be
yeah.
three movies, right?
Exactly.
um,
This could never be
I'm just
over.
I'm just saying with Dune, there's a built-in hall pass where
Yeah.
Yes.
we didn't include this in the source material, but man, we'll get to that, right? We're gonna
Mhm.
introduce that character. We're gonna introduce that house. We're gonna delve more into what the spice does and the space travel.
Is
Because
this a
right
is
now,
this a is this a problem where this is something that should have been made into an HBO show?
Mm.
I think it would have benefited from it.
Sure.
Um, like what Martin was saying when Game of Thrones first came out was he could either do each book as a 3 hour film or 10 1 hour episodes. And if you've got 10 hours to talk about each book,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
can, so many characters and so many different, cities and uh, realms, continents for that matter. It gives you more opportunity to showcase more of what's in the book and not have to make cuts and sacrifices. So if it's done with a comparable budget over 10 hours, and you're doing more than just the first book, then it may have been better served
Mhm.
on HBO. But dude, seeing it
But
in
it
the theater,
almost
like,
exactly, almost never
It's
does
amazing.
it doesn't have the budget. I mean, if you're going to how are you gonna invest that much money into a story that's spread out over 10 episodes? They're worried about doing one movie that's
right.
2.5 hours, and they didn't want to greenlight the next one until they knew this one was going to do okay. So, so that was always the thing with Game of Thrones is they're saving their budget for that like penultimate episode of the season where they can have a big battle. They can show a dragon because despite being one of the biggest shows ever, still had to deal with budget constraints. And
Well,
I don't feel that in this kind of
I
movie.
never felt like
to push
what
back on that a little bit, I mean, check the money that Amazon is throwing at this new Lord of the Rings. It is
I know.
insane.
And this is gonna show why money doesn't solve everything, because it's gonna be trash. And, but yeah, no, that's true. I mean,
I'm just saying,
someone could
like,
choose to change
someone
this. They could
yeah, someone
choose
could
to
have
take the risk.
yeah.
And yes, absolutely.
And someone may still. I mean, who knows, like, if this ends up being part 1 of 2, but there's clamor for more, who knows if it's gonna keep being movies, if they're gonna be like, "Nope, like, this is just too big. Maybe this is gonna be the next Game of Thrones, and we should just move it to TV."
Hmm, hmm. I don't know.
I don't know that that's
I
true, and I don't know that that's not true.
I would say with going back to Game of Thrones that I never felt like they were like it was entertaining throughout, with characters and even like the smaller battles that I never felt like they were like holding back. In fact, there was one
Mhm.
episode that I was like, this is really good. This is really good. Like this is another A plus episode. And then, oh, it's like they had an extra 20 minutes and an extra $1 million. And they said, now we're gonna show Hardhome. And that's
Sure.
when, oh my god, the White Walkers showed up and they had the crazy battle in the snow, and there were zombies at the gates, plug for my book. And it was, oh, it went like this is a great episode to this is like my favorite episode ever.
Sure.
sure. Yeah, I
And
mean,
it,
and
and
there's benefits to the constraints as well. I'm just saying they would have done things differently. I mean, always, of course, you have more money and you do more.
Mhm.
They've talked
right.
about like needing to
Right.
save that money for the certain battle scenes, like
Or
for the
Right.
dragons,
season,
yeah.
there'd be the bit, yeah, there'd be the special effects heavy things. And that was fine because that's to me not what made the show so great. What made the show so great was Tywin and the Queen of
Yep.
Thorns getting in it, uh, and those discussions and the plotting and stuff. So it wasn't.
Yeah.
So it was fine. Even Star Wars, they wanted more money, and everything they go is when people are forced to go practical as opposed to digital or something. But I don't know.
I
Money
feel like
doesn't make it
I feel
everything.
like Star
Transformers has
Wars.
tons of money, you know.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say I feel like Star Wars could have used a dose of maybe some practicality and budget cutting.
yeah. Oh yeah. For
Not
sure.
OG, to be fair. Just talking about the newer ones.
Yep. Um, I also really like the soundtrack. I haven't gotten to. I was tried listening to the soundtrack in the tractor, but it's too noisy. So I'm waiting to put on my good headphones and listen through the soundtrack because
Okay.
there were moments in there that really reminded me of like I was wondering if they were trying to make a callback to Planet of the Apes. Some of the really like if you the original Planet of the Apes
Oh
is a lot
wow.
of just
Okay.
like drums, just like
Mhm.
da-da, whatever. And I don't know. That's what I thought of when I saw this. It's like talk about another sci-fi classic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So um so with as it pertains to the book, do you feel it are we getting the right feel from this? Does this feel like Dune?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
I think it's hitting all the right notes. Um, but I'm just worried about people who haven't read the book. Are you like completely lost?
Yes.
Right. I mean, but I
That's
love it.
what
So
but
I
and
cut
I
out some of the
don't.
dream ballet and then a little more, exposition, right?
Sure.
I
Well,
that was
see, and see, I hate being like left in the dark, so I hated that upon my first viewing of like, and I typically don't mind being thrown in the middle in movies because that's so much of like modern movie making is like let's throw you in a situation and sort of like dig our way out and like give you pieces as we go. This felt like so much to me that it was really hard my first viewing, and then my second viewing I just like it was just so much more relaxing to watch, knowing what little I knew, watching it more in depth with Chris and like explaining things that he had missed on his first viewing of the show, and me being like, I have the knowledge now. Like I can at least give you, the pieces that I've gleaned and the extra stuff that I'm picking up upon my second viewing. It was so much more comforting to watch a second time.
yeah, I loved it. I to me it was I I always like being thrown in the middle, in the mix of it. There's no hand holding. I think exposition is one of the things that destroys. Is one of the biggest weak points of anime for sure.
Mhm.
Number of Star Wars films, a lot of things are destroyed by exposition. I remember in college, it's funny because it's another George Lucas movie talking about how to properly do exposition, and one of their examples was Raiders of the Lost Ark. You set your audience in the shoes of people that don't know, and you have the expert Indy explain it to those people
Mhm.
that don't know on screen. So it's not so it's a reason to explain something to an
Mhm.
audience, and so he's like sitting and explaining the arc or whatever to two people that would have no idea, and then thus filling in the audience as well.
Mhm.
And so you can do that well, but a lot of times they don't. Then you skip
Yeah.
to the third Star Wars episode 3, and they're at the beginning on the ship, and just Anakin and Obi-Wan are telling each other that things that they would obviously know, but it's for the benefit of the
Mhm.
audience, and it's
Mhm.
really lazy and awkward. So, yes, there's things I didn't understand with this, but it just made me curious. It makes me want to see it again. It makes me want to know
Yeah.
more. To me, when I'm writing a D&D campaign, the most exciting thing is to write something and just know that there's a lot more behind it.
Sure.
And then, but I don't know what that is yet, even. I haven't come up with it yet. And so in this, when I don't even know the history of the families, I don't
Mhm.
understand the structure of the government and like the power struggles that are going
Mhm.
on there exactly. I don't, but I want to know, and
Mhm.
it makes me curious in this and interested in this world.
To be fair, also, I some of my like missing things upon my first viewing, I think wasn't helped. I watched this on HBO Max and I had wild troubles with audio variation, like volume. Was just like there were parts that were quiet and then followed by like very loud parts, so I would turn it down and then I'd be missing like some sort of like whisper talk. There's only so many times you feel like you want to rewind to catch something without
Put
feeling
on the
like
subtitles, yeah.
I'm
No, that
completely
happened in the
losing.
movie too. That
I,
happened in the movie theater too.
it
Like,
was really
are we
hard.
really old? Is it do we
I
need to get the hearing impaired?
And, like, I didn't wanna all the time interrupt the flow of the movie to, like, rewind it back. So, like, again, my second viewing, I was like, "Oh, I'm getting more of, like, because 'cause I'm
Yeah.
anticipating our, like, volume changes, so I could be ready for, like, oh, this is gonna be a really quiet part. Here comes that, like, crazy, music when he's in the desert and, like, having, a moment, and we're about to fight,
Mhm.
and, like,
The Dream
the
Ballet.
orchestra's yeah, the orchestra's coming. And I know. So there was a lot easier to like pick up some of the pieces, and I didn't feel quite as bereft of information
But
as I
why did
did.
you buy a new soundbar if you're just gonna turn it down when it gets to the dramatic parts?
That was for Chris's special time. We've been through this.
Yeah. Well, just I mean, for future reference, because certainly with a baby around or it's something that's late night or whatever, I know on Apple TV and usually on most devices, you can set your sound to be compressed, set it to be
Okay.
flattened. And so it's going to remove the dynamic range and make it like old television show. And so you can watch something and you don't get those quiet moments and then the big bang, but you can
Right.
hear it all and maintain the volume
Sure.
level.
I,
So
I have a similar issue where like sometimes the music of the movie is like crazy loud, and then you have like the dialogue, and you're like, oh, they're
Yep.
whispering to each other. Can't hear what the hell you're saying. So then you turn it up the whispers, and then bah!
Yep.
it's because it's designed, and I understand, but it's designed to be experienced, and that's why you're saying you go in the theater or whatever. Even though
Right.
you still have some of those problems, it's designed to turn up so the whispers you can just hear, the normal dialogue's pretty loud, and then the big bangs are freaking
Like
loud.
body sensations. Yeah.
Yeah, but then that
But at
doesn't
home, it just
accommodate
doesn't quite.
everybody's situation,
Yeah.
when
It
you're
just
viewing
did
it.
not quite
So
work out.
turn off dynamic range, lower that if you want. So. I didn't love the fight scenes. I thought to me, I'm a big fan of the director. I think everything he's done so far that I've seen is beautiful.
Hmm.
But I don't know who the stunt coordinator was or whatever. But I was not particularly convinced that our protagonist here was this amazing combatant.
Capable.
And yeah, that was kind of a thing for me. One of my gripes.
You mean like final
Yeah,
fight scene
his
with
fights
Oh,
to
with
like
the
the final showdown versus the
yeah,
guy
mean,
who's
it
been
was
living
just
on he's been living on the desert murder planet his whole life, and he can't
exactly.
handle a kid with a
These
sword.
guys
right.
Momoa's like,
Oh,
these guys fight like animals. They're so crazy and skilled. I have such respect for him. He's supposed to be one of the best fighters around. And this scrawny kid comes in here and wipes the floor. Now, you wouldn't need to convince me earlier in the training with Thanos to
yeah.
that he was really proficient, and it needed more. That was the least believable moment for me.
Sure.
Um, yeah,
I yeah, no, it was really I felt very two ways about that fight. It was very like believable when like the leader of the Furman was like, is he playing with this guy? Is he toying with him? And his mom was like, he's never killed a man. And I was like, that's super believable. Like he's,
yeah, sure,
very
yeah.
hesitant to like actually do anything. But then yeah, like besting his combatant, that was a little like, oh, well, that just seemed pretty
It,
easy considering everybody was like, no, no, this
yep.
kid can't do it. You're gonna die, kid.
It should have been a more anime kind of moment where it's like he wins, but it's kind of by chance.
Yeah.
It's trips on a rock, falls wrong. He gets something to give him the advantage, and he like it's one of those things where it makes your hero extra fallible,
Hmm.
where he's progressing and doing these great things, but it's not all by
Hmm.
his prowess. It's like Harry Potter won't get anywhere without Hermione. It's those
Hmm.
kinds of things where or there's some luck involved. I don't know.
Yeah, the
Something
fight
else
felt
need to make it more believable to me.
the fight felt very clean. It wasn't like a struggle. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like even
Yeah,
in
when
his
everything
fight with Josh
yeah.
Brolin, where he's like in training and he's like struggling. They have like a moment of like, oh, I finally got him. Nope, I got you too. Like there's a very real like I'm exerting effort. And Timothy Chalamet didn't even feel like he was putting forth that much of an effort in this fight.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, we're past 90 minutes. Uh, I can if there's more things we have to say on Dune, I'm certainly welcome to go into it. I feel like it's something that can be talked about a lot. If you guys feel like you've gotten off your chest what you need to say about this film,
I have not.
you've not.
I
Okay.
We've gone this entire time without me bringing up Stellan
Beard.
Skarsgård's
Yeah.
performance as
Oh
a
yeah.
fat floaty vampire. And
Yeah.
I just can't. Like that was real tough for me.
Oh, I love
Not that
it. I love it.
not that he wasn't like a great antagonist and that he
Okay.
wasn't well cast as like, the Duke. No, is he the Duke? He's the Baron. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's the
Duke
Duke.
is
Harkonnen.
is
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac. He's the Baron of House Harkonnen and like was greedy and nasty and I totally whoops.
Whoa.
I'm so like
You're
upset. I moved
shaking
my
the house.
camera.
Oh
um
my God.
so yeah, so I dug it all until like he floated up in a cone of light and he also floated up to the ceiling to escape Oscar Isaac's poison gas. And I was like, no, 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 no. This is something you can't just like have somebody do and not explain to me because
You needed his backstory. Yeah,
you
my
really
friend
did.
who didn't read the book is like, why is that guy floating? I'm like, it's a long story.
Yeah.
But isn't it, I don't know. To me, it added an element of
Some things you can accept,
yeah. Yeah.
It
and
was
some
tough.
things you're like,
Everything else felt so realistic or the technology felt so grounded and this was just a guy like who can somehow float when nobody else
To
can.
to my understanding, it's like a belt that he wears to
But like I
allow
needed
him to
that.
walk.
was
Is
that
the
Yeah.
in the movie? Was that in the movie?
No, it's
Where
not.
did you
Yeah.
get that,
And
John?
I was
Alan.
listening to interviews.
See now,
Or oh
John,
yeah, yeah, that's right.
not
It was Alan
fair.
that said that.
Alan. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Fair. Like if you don't have that
But
information,
I didn't have
like,
it when I watched the movie, and I didn't care. It
Oh, I
was
totally
added
cared.
later.
well,
I super cared.
yeah,
Just
because
because I felt like it was so especially when he was like doing it for one of the first times and he just like floats up in that beam of light where they're in the like silence cone. It just felt off. Like visually, there was
It
no reason to do it. Even his like stuck to the
but you
ceiling
don't.
thing was like, at least
There
I'm
is a
trying to escape
reason to do it,
poison gas.
but again, the backstory is lacking.
Yeah.
It has
That
to
was
do
it.
with
It was just a
the
really tough moment.
you know,
I just loved it visually. Uh,
yes,
I
yep.
loved it visually. I
There
was
are
eye
uh
candy.
Eye candy. Okay, we have very different definitions of eye candy because eye
Stars.
candy to me is Jason Momoa and
Okay, okay.
not
Well,
Stellan Skarsgård. At least
yeah, I
in this
guess that's
movie. At
okay.
least as like a,
Okay.
corpulent, balding, chalky baron.
Okay. Yeah,
such a messy eater.
right,
Such
yeah.
a messy eater.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
actually a little disappointed by the explanation behind it because one of my favorite manga is Blam, and it's way, 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 way in the future. And one thing I
Mhm.
love about it is that humans can be quite different than what they are today. And
Mhm.
there's synthetics and there's all different things or whatever. And going into it outside of you, you're like, why is this one person like 8 feet tall and someone
Mhm.
else is 4 feet tall and another person can like pull things out of their body and like different cord like you don't it's so foreign, but to me it's like, wow, look how humans have advanced, evolved, changed themselves over millennia. And to me with Dune, I'm like, who knows what we have in however many thousands of years. And to me it excited me that we have humans that aren't really human they're not how we think of humans anymore. And so I was
Mhm.
thinking this was like an innate ability or something weird or
Like the
some
voice.
mutation or something done, Yeah, exactly, like the voice, yes. And so that excited me, adding, like, when the fantasy and science fiction can kind of
Mhm.
start blending because the advancement of civilization has gone so far.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I don't know why to me it seemed like these, like the ability to like float around in the air versus like having something like the voice felt so different, whereas the voice felt somewhat grounded in
Well,
well,
I would
some
say
sort of like
because the voice is from the
possibility.
Bene Gesserit, and it's a sect, and they're
Sure.
called witches. And
mhm,
so
Right.
with that, you can accept things.
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas here you have, the
no
Baron,
context.
no context, and just out of the blue. Oh, he floats like a blimp.
Right. Just
Yep,
coming up.
yep,
So
yep.
it's
Like I
yeah.
said, I don't know if maybe it would have like I don't know, made more sense to me because, when the Duke is trying to poison him and he like is able to like get up and away, I was like, well, at least there's a reason that this is happening. And like in the first, it was just like, cool.
You
Like
know what
you do you.
everyone forgets when they're talking about either people, space, traveling in space or something like that, or all this stuff. They always take for granted that we're literally able to control gravity because you're in
Mhm.
space on a ship and you can walk
Sure.
around like normal. So to me, the assumption I was like, well, if you can control and manipulate gravity to create it, you can obviously lessen it, increase it, whatever, with different varying devices and whatever.
And maybe I
But
just needed like a quick, like, that's what we did or somebody else doing it, or like, oh, this is like super rare to be able to, have like a personal.
Batista, they have bad exposition, and it'll be like, "Oh, here you are floating again, thanks to your cybernetic
You don't
suspenders."
you don't have to tell. You can show,
Right.
Yeah,
the
Press a button,
horrible, right?
I know. Yeah, yeah,
do something. I don't know. I needed something
yep.
Yeah.
there.
Okay, I'll take the criticism. I'll cede the point. So, all right, how about you, Pete? Any final remarks? Things you have not gotten off your chest or discussed that must be said here?
Uh, Jason Momoa's beard.
I was just gonna say, gotten off your chest, gotten off your face, like Jason Momoa's beard.
Uh, I've always been a fan of the Jason Momoa beardless Momoa. Again, you got to explain it. Where'd it go? Why'd it come back? I love it.
Yeah,
Sans beard is less preferred. Yes.
it went through several phases. It was like beard, some cleaned up stuff. Oh, we got a goatee, nothing.
I mean, but that's real. I was getting a pretty big beard a while back,
Mhm.
and when you shave it off, you got to try stuff. So maybe you play with this for a few days, and I play with that for a few days, and
Maybe it's like a Samson and Delilah thing. He like shaved his beard and spoiler alert, loses his fight,
oh my gosh, yeah.
loses his
I
strength.
went when I shaved my beard up. I went with giant mutton chops. 'Cause Ashley's all like, "Oh, mutton chops are cool now because of Bridgerton," and
Oh,
stuff. It's
true.
like, "Oh,
True.
here's the mutton chops." And, no, I guess it doesn't she's like, "You have to wear the old-timey clothes too. You can't just wear normal clothes and then have mutton chops." I see. I have to be careful about it.
My God, the fashion police are strong in your
I
house.
was gonna say you need so many pieces, so many elements.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
could say,
Just a whole new
or
John.
not.
Yep. Mhm. Yep. Okay. Alright. So,
Yeah, overall, I mean,
floating yeah.
overall, I wanna say like I came away from Dune very positive. I did enjoy the film. There were just some things missing upon a first viewing that I actually really felt better about after watching it a second time. And I can't imagine anybody else who has seen it wouldn't enjoy it a second viewing as well.
Yeah. I even said that the movie will get better with age for me as well.
Mhm.
The initial, like, just that feeling of deception that it's one book, two
Mhm.
movies at least, maybe more. and then just the slow pacing of it. But I can't knock it for what it did, what it showed, and
Hmm.
compared to what I recall from the source material was excellent in the visuals,
Yeah.
the acting. But there's a pretty gruesome story behind the floating baron, so it would have been nice to see that, hear
Sure.
that, flashback that, um, and yeah.
So we'll
Anyway,
hope they don't let us down in the future.
Indeed.
They got a lot riding on them for explanations and context, and we'll see what
yeah,
they manage or leave
they
out.
don't need to tell; they can show, right?
Right.
Hmm.
And it'll be fun.
Yep. Well, I don't want to be too exceptionally glowing. I just have to say that it was what I was looking for. It was what I
Yep.
was
Yeah,
looking for in a movie, something that really shows me the
absolutely.
scale, the cinematography, the intrigue, the world building,
Hmm.
all the things. And I haven't wanted to haven't thought about shooting any sort of like creative fiction for a long time, and this movie kind of re-energized me that way. So like I have
All
that to thank for this movie to
Yeah.
thank for that. So yeah. So I look forward to seeing you all on set whenever we figure out
right.
something to make. And and yeah. But all right. Well, that was Dune 2021. Um Peter, thanks for jumping in and
Thanks for inviting me back.
joining
I
us.
had a lot of fun. Always fun.
Hmm.
Why don't you plug anything you'd like? Tell people where they could find you, all that sort of thing.
Oh, if you are interested in science fiction, fantasy, horror, short stories, I've got 4 collections. You can find me on Amazon.com. Look up Peter J. Gilbertson. I got Zombies at the Gates. I've got Vampire Autopsy and a couple others that I think you'll all really enjoy.
I think Vampire Autopsy is the best. I think.
Well,
Uh,
we'll let my audience decide. You can
yeah, yeah. All
comment
right.
below.
Yeah, right. I will try to remember to put some links in the YouTube
Hmm.
Oh, cool.
comments for
Yep.
if people don't remember something while listening to this. Check below. Um, I mean, Andrea, we usually don't have anything to plug, but is there something?
I don't, unfortunately, just us,
Yeah.
like us, follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, our website. I'm not going to steal your whole spiel, John, but
No,
just,
that's
yeah.
fine. Leave reviews, follow us in your favorite podcast directory. Reviews there help for
Hmm.
sure, and other people finding us. We have lots of opinions. I'm sure you have other ones, so let us know what they are. That's cool. We can have a discussion. That's been Popcast on the Rocks, episode 82. Just before we go, I want to thank Killing the Flower for our theme song. You can check them out on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify.
Hmm.
And then my brother-in-law, Lucas333, that's Lucas with a K. You can find him on Twitch, usually streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. So check that out as well. Otherwise, that's the show. Thanks, guys, for joining me once again.
Thank you. And if any yellow soda providers out there want to sponsor the show, we'd be happy to get some refills.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks for having us, John. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.